As much as I would love to tell you that we have started on rehab and we're on the way to our first fix and flip, the reality of it is we're not. I'm actually walking away from my first deal. I'm about to break down all the numbers and why we have to walk away. Check it out. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm documenting my entire journey from no experience all the way up to full-time real estate investor. If you're interested, check out this playlist up here. So we went under contract on this property up here. If you haven't watched the previous video, go check it out. This property was absolutely destroyed. So with that being said, why did we choose this property and why did we go under contract on it? Right now in March of 2021, the market is so incredibly competitive that when a wholesaler brings you a deal, you have to jump on it right away. And that's exactly what we did on this particular property. The wholesaler brought us a deal. We were the first ones to the punch. He went under contract for $28,500 and he was willing to assign it to us for $3,500, which means we were willing to buy this property for $32,000. So obviously now the most important part is asking the question, how much is it going to cost to rehab the property and get it either rent ready or resale ready? Typically, there are gonna be two different sources that you use to estimate rehab costs. Number one is gonna be your opinion. So when you see it in this particular case, all we had was email and pictures. And so we had to make an estimation without actually being at the property physically to see it. And the second source is the wholesaler himself. He is going to make an estimation, but typically he's gonna come in a little bit lower on what the actual costs are because he wants to make that property seem as valuable as possible to you. What we ended up landing on between what the wholesaler thought and what we could tell just from the pictures that were sent was somewhere around $30,000 of rehab costs. So if you've been following the journey, you'll know that my goal was to close on my first property by the end of March with a profit margin of $20,000 net after everyone was paid. On this particular property, the ARV, or after rehab value, was on the low end, $90,000. Real quick, if me documenting this whole process is helpful for you, hit that subscribe button and come along on this journey with me. So obviously everything checks out, I'm super excited, but the one caveat now is we have a 7-day inspection period to actually physically go to the location with the contractor, which is the last video that I posted, and get real, actual estimates on what it's gonna cost to rehab this entire thing and have it ready to go. It goes without saying, but I'm here to tell you, my friends, it was a lot more than $30,000. A few days later, it came back that the total rehab cost on this destroyed property was going to be over $60,000. So at this point, you're probably asking the question, how in the world could you have been that far off on your estimated rehab costs? And to put it simply, in this day and age, when a wholesaler brings you a deal and all you have is pictures in an email, you have to understand that pictures can only tell you so much. The next question you have to ask is, given the pictures, is it worth taking the risk and actually putting it under contract right away? Here's what I would say. As the old saying goes, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And with real estate, especially in this market, I know I keep saying that, if you don't pull the trigger on the opportunities that come across your table, you might never do a deal. So in this situation, it could have come back at 35 or 40, at which point I would have gone back to the wholesaler and said, hey, can you drop the price $5,000 or $10,000 and make this deal work? So there's plenty of opportunity. I think where people get hung up is twofold. Number one, they don't get in the deal in the first place. And number two, once they get in the deal and the numbers don't make sense, they don't have the discipline to walk away from the deal. So I hope as I've been documenting this journey, this is helpful for you. You're gonna see the good, bad, and ugly like I promised. And if you're in a deal like this and the numbers don't make sense, you have got to walk away, because I promise you, and all my mentors have promised me and reassured me, another deal will come. Which brings me to my final point, which is what is the next step? We simply get back in the market. We're gonna connect with wholesalers again and look for our next deal. I'm documenting the whole thing. Hit subscribe if you wanna come along for the journey. We'll see you on the next one.